Talent joining us. All right, so Jeff Sessions, your former colleague, confirmed as the Attorney General. Before we get to that, though, Jimmy, I want to ask you about, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the Gorsuch comments to this Democratic senator after this private meeting, I thought it was brilliant in the sense that it really helped, A, his confirmation chances, B, it also helped President Trump because now you have proof that Gorsuch has an independent mind. Don't you think that that's a reasonable conclusion to be made by this, what happened yesterday?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Gorsuch is coming from the standpoint of a lawyer, okay? So lawyers are not supposed to criticize judges in the way the president did. In other words, you certainly can criticize their rulings on the law and the rest of it. You're not supposed to criticize them personally. I don't remember that, canon of ethics really specifically. But of course, the rest of the world, if they think a judge makes a stupid decision, they say he's a stupid judge, right? I mean, and that's where Donald Trump's coming from. So it was two different perspectives. I guess I hadn't really thought about it, Jamie, but I guess you may be right. I think Gorsuch is going to get some support from Democrats, at least support for allowing a regular vote. Not forcing them to get rid of the filibuster. I think the Democrats will back away from doing that.
Yeah, it sounds like even this Democrat who, well, I guess could be called a leak, although I think it was all done on purpose, but who talked about this.
No question about that. I mean, if Gorsuch thought that what he was going to say in private was going to stay in private, he's learned that lesson anyway.
Yeah, but it seems like this Democratic senator is on his side, so I think he gained a confirmation vote, tell you the truth.
Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if that isn't the case. But I think the key issue is whether they vote. I think there's going to be a filibuster against him, but the question is whether McConnell can get the 60 votes to shut it down, or whether he's going to have to eliminate the filibuster for Supreme Court nominees, which would be fine with me, by the way. But McConnell doesn't want to do that, but he's clearly going to do it if he has to get him confirmed. His hearing will be very important. If he gets through the hearing well, then I think he's going to get confirmed beyond question. It's just a question of how.
Right. I get it. All right. And then also there's been a lot of debate within the conservative circles about the wisdom of Mitch McConnell calling Elizabeth Warren out on the floor. Some say it was a great show of order when it comes to the Senate and Senate rules. Others say it gave her too much attention. What's your take on this? Because in my opinion, I thought it worked in terms of the so-called elevation of her to a status where we want her, meaning as head of the Democratic Party, basically now, and the future of the Democratic Party, which some people are very comfortable with in terms of setting up the fight.
Yeah, I think politically, if you asked her, she'd probably say it helped her. She's probably glad it happened. I think McConnell was just policing the Senate, which is, what the leaders have to do. I mean, you are not supposed to attack the motives of other members or senators, and that may seem, or the president, by the way, that may seem arcane to most people, but if you don't have a rule like that, you're going to see debate plunge downward. I mean, it's not good now, and you're just going to see it get worse and worse. And this comes out of the time. Remember, these institutions are rooted in thinking from hundreds and hundreds of years ago when people fought duels. So if you attack somebody's motives, in 1800, or, you personally insulted them, there were consequences for that. That's what this thing goes back to. It's a sound idea. And I read her remarks. I thought she did. She didn't say the effect of Sessions' action was to chill voter rights and intimidate people. She said that's what he was trying to do, and that's the distinction that McConnell was standing up for.
Yeah, totally. And it's weird because on the one hand, and you can fear her on a couple of levels is that there's no doubt that Elizabeth Warren is smart. And there's no doubt she also has her following among meat and potatoes, blue-collar Democrats who still haven't gotten it yet. But still, she has her sway. But this whole, Jeff Sessions is Bull Connor and all that kind of stuff really does destroy her credibility, and I think that helps.
To anybody who knows Jeff Sessions, I mean, it's quite simply not true. I mean, I think he's absolutely the right choice right now because Sessions has a deep, abiding sense of fidelity, to the law, and the Justice Department desperately needs that right now. I think he's going to end up being very successful. It would not surprise me if remember when Ashcroft was confirmed. He was confirmed on a close vote too, and then by the time he was gone, the liberals ended up celebrating him because he stood up for the law. I forget the circumstance when he wouldn't go along with something President Bush wanted to do. It wouldn't surprise me if the same thing doesn't happen with Sessions down the road, and then he'll end up being a hero for these people. So I think it was a good choice, and the Senate did the right thing. I was disappointed he didn't get more Democrats, but I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I agree. That'll be interesting to see how this whole thing rolls out. By the way, yeah, go ahead.
They know, Jamie, you can't serve with somebody, for years and years and years without getting some idea of their character. And I don't agree with Sessions about everything. He and I used to tilt at the idea of spending more money on defense because you know how strongly I feel about that. And Jeff, and this is a good thing normally. I mean, Jeff just hates to spend money. But you disagree with somebody, but you can recognize his character as well.
Well, you would have loved my interview last night with John Venable from the Heritage Foundation on the TV because this has been a story, and you and I don't have time to talk about this, but eventually we should about the disastrous nature of our defense budget at this point in time. Yeah. And how desperately we need to increase it and how important it is and defensible it is to increase it, considering it's one of the enumerated powers in the Constitution.
Absolutely.
So
it's the foundation of our national security against real threats.
Yeah.
And the chief testified the other day, like 2/3 of the Navy fighters can't fly.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie, this is it's impossible. The president is not going to be able to achieve anything he wants to achieve in foreign policy. And regardless of what you think about things like trying to make a deal with the Russians, we have to be strong. I said this in an interview yesterday. One of the really encouraging things about Donald Trump is I think it's in his DNA, the idea that we maintain the peace and protect ourselves by being strong. I think he really believes it, and I think he's going to push it, and we've needed a president like that for some time. So
all right.
That's probably the most encouraging thing so far I've seen about his presidency. I really like that.
All right, Jim Talent, thank you so much. Appreciate it. At Jim Talent, AAI.org. Thanks, you buddy. Appreciate it.
Okay, man.
All right, that is Jim Talent. Coming up,